I'm Welton Gaddy. Welcome to State of Belief, continuing coverage of the 2020 Republican National Convention. I'm joined by my dear friend, Greg Lebel, an expert on political management whose insights have been invaluable throughout our coverage of these virtual conventions. Hello again, Greg.
It's nice to see you, Welton.
You know, tonight's pageantry is hard to focus on with an eye on the shocking events in and around Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm at a loss for how one continues celebrating achievements, especially for racial minorities, as this kind of deadly violence keeps spreading, first of all, and second of all, as public reaction is again and again substantially polarized along lines of race. Mm-hmm. The same incident is seen and described and reacted to in completely opposite ways. It's hard not to despair at this level of division.
I absolutely agree with you. It is heartbreaking. Doesn't begin to describe, I think, what we all feel as we watch this this story continue to unfold and unfold in the same ways over and over again. As you said, it's just one thing after another, and the dissonance, I think, that tonight has shown between the reality of what we're seeing in this country and what we heard tonight. Basically more of the same. I mean, this was more of the same from nights 1 and 2, as far as I can tell, with a slight tipping of the hat on the part of the vice president at the end, which really focused inappropriately much more on law and order than anything. The idea of compassion, of understanding, of a willingness to listen is devoid, even in the speech where we thought we might see something tonight. We heard as the night was progressing that first the vice president wasn't going to discuss any of this, and then, well, he is. Well, if he is, maybe we'll hear something, but I don't think we did. We heard a paean to law and order.
Yeah. I can't help but listen to what the vice president said tonight about police and the problems that we're having there, and him doubling down on saying we're going with them. We're going with them. I don't have any reason to be negative at police, but I do know that there are people wearing that suit that are doing things that are as bad as can be done in our nation, and I just don't know how you can say that.
Well, you're right, and it's this total lack of nuance, and I think it applies to what we're talking about now with regard to the police, but it applies to everything, every aspect that they have presented to us. There is absolutely no nuance. Like you, I have my niece is married to a policeman up in New England. And so I often call to see how Matt's doing in all of this. They continue to talk about how Biden is calling for defunding of the police. It's not true. It's simply not true. Yet just as we've seen for the last 3.5 years, you repeat the lie, and hope that eventually people will start to believe it. And that's what we've seen for now 3 days here.
I was reminded, Greg, that the fires and violence in Trump's ads warning about the chaos a Biden presidency would bring were actually shot in Trump's America. I don't really have a question to go with that observation. It just seemed another piece of the fiction that we seem to be increasingly engulfed in.
I noted the same thing tonight as I was again listening to this again. But you're right. We continue to hear about the chaos that will ensue with a Biden presidency. We're in a state of multiple examples of chaos now. The economy, the racial situation, the COVID-19. I mean, there are so many ways in which we are in cases. I got to say, the other thing it reminded me of too, Welton, is Barry Goldwater when he ran for president in 1964. This was the message that Goldwater. I remember a spot he did where the word chaos kept appearing on the screen, and he was showing these sorts of images. I mean, this is what the law and order thing comes out of the Nixon era. This chaos thing comes out of the Goldwater campaign. Somebody's sitting around, I think, reading histories of these two elections, and we're seeing them applied here.
Well, we haven't talked much about Mike Pence. He was front and center tonight, along with his wife. What did you get out of what you heard?
Mike Pence is not much of a speaker, I have to say. Again, with this sort of half bow to the victims of the pandemic, to the first responders, the people in the medical profession, and so on and so forth, who have been dealing. This is the first time we've really heard much of anything about that. And again, a sort of weird sort of reference to the racial issues that we're dealing with right now. Again, then falling back on the need for law and order. I heard a repetition, a summary of what we've heard in the first two nights, and that goes for not only Mike Pence but everything we've heard tonight. I don't think there was nothing new that was coming out of us. There were some pretty outrageous statements which we can talk about, but I mean Biden's speech, Pence's speech was just a rehash, I think, pretty much of everything we've heard.
I heard the vice president say something that I guess through this day I have heard repeated. America cannot be America unless Donald Trump is its president. Now, to me, that shows ignorance about both our past and our future. How do you interpret what that is?
That's interesting you bring that up, because the line was "Keep America, America." I think we're talking about the same thing. Laura Trump used it in her remarks. She said it twice. Right. And then the vice president came back and repeated, "Keep America, America." What I take from that, frankly, is a dog whistle on immigration. I think, and about diversity. That's how I interpret that. I don't know how else you can interpret it. To me, it was a warning that a Biden presidency changes the nature of America, and that's primarily, I think, about diversity and about immigration. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it hit me. When they use the term, it's an unfortunate term.
I guess what I want to go to now is a little bit redundant, and I just want to see what you think about what I'm about to say. I was sitting there tonight, listening carefully, and it suddenly occurred to me that almost everything I've heard this week is the opposite of what has happened in the White House and with the way in which the president has operated. And it's almost as if, now forget what you saw and listen to what we're saying, because this is the way we will get your vote. It's not the way we will do our way of life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen to what I say. Don't pay any attention to what we're doing. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There are so many ways that we can sort of talk about this. That is, I think that is the intentional strategy here. To try and again, I think it's not. We shouldn't be surprised. Because again, this is, I think, the way their messaging has been since Trump has been in the White House. I mean, let's face it, it goes back to the size of the inauguration crowd.
Yeah.
The idea that somehow we can, and Kellyanne Conway's, we have our own set of facts.
Okay.
This idea that we all live through the same thing, but then Trump and the people around him come out and say, no, that's not what you saw at all. This is what it is. And somehow that we're going to just believe that. Now, there are some who I guess do, but I hope it's not all of us. But that seems to be the general strategy. Change the focus. Tell you that you didn't see what you thought you saw. And that's what I think that's what we've been seeing tonight. So yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, an example I think is Congresswoman Stefanik when she spoke. She referred to the illegal impeachment. Where does this come from? There was nothing illegal about that. It was a nuisance for them, but it certainly was not illegal. But this language that sort of twists reality enough so that you kind of slip it by and people go, yeah, maybe that was illegal. Yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange.
Well, maybe for you the hardest question that I'm going to ask you tonight is this one. What else stood out for you from what you heard tonight at the RNC? Was there anything positive for you? No, I honestly can't say that there was. I think what we saw in general is a continue. Well, maybe this is positive in the sense that we've talked about in the last couple of days. There's a continuous outreach to Black men. That was very clear tonight. Also, I think secondarily to women, which again, I think tells me that they are trying desperately to find some chunk of the voting public where they can draw more votes because they're recognizing that there just aren't enough in that group of voters that they've been looking at. So I suppose to some extent one can say that was positive in a sort of strategic sense in the terms of how I would like to see this turn out. But there were so many lines that were disturbing. I forget his name, but the retired Notre Dame football coach who said that Joe Biden is a Catholic in name only. Whoa. Yes. This is heavy duty stuff. I happened to be flipping back and forth, and I had MSNBC, and they interviewed a Jesuit, a Catholic priest, a Jesuit, and he said, "Whoa, no, that's no, we don't go there. We don't go there." But those kinds of really sort of outrageous lines. Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, said, North South Dakota. Said we will not be the subject of so-called experts. Yeah. Again, this is crazy talk, but it's not unusual. This is the sort of stuff that fits perfectly into the rhetoric of this president, which flies, as you said, in the face of what they're trying to present as his image tonight. Do you think that the American public is watching this enough to understand what is really happening, or are they looking at it just enough that they may miss that?
I think that, well, let me say what I think the people who are putting this thing on are hoping. They know that people who are anti-Trump are not. It just doesn't work. They're hoping that there's just enough stuff that slips by that will appeal to some of this very narrow group of people who they're trying to attract. Those folks who are sort of somewhere, maybe they voted. We talked about them, I think, on night one. The people who voted for Trump 4 years ago are not so sure now, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to just plant enough nuggets, I think, to bring some of those people back over into the camp. But they can't. This is not the kind of thing that reaches out to the public at large. This is very, very narrowly focused, and I think that's why, in some ways, it's so painful for us to watch it, because there's no real effort to speak to America, to speak to what we're all dealing with and facing as a community, right now. It's just not there, because it's not what they're trying to do.
Greg, I can't finish tonight's coverage without asking you about Richard Grenell. Now, he's the star of a web video claiming Donald Trump has been the best president for LGBTQI plus voters. Oh, Greg.
Yeah. That was quite a little speech. I mean, this guy's he's known as a conspiracy theorist, first of all. I mean, this is who this guy is. But to make that claim, certainly anyone who knows anything about this president's attempts to slam the door with regard to service in the military. There are so many issues on which he has been on the wrong side of the LGBTQ community. That it like so many other things, it would be laughable if it weren't so tragic. But that speech in particular really struck me as just odd. I mean, sad, but also odd. That this guy would sort of get up and make these accusations. But then we heard, I mean, who was I'm trying to remember who the gentleman was, Jack Brewer, the African-American speaker, who said, he used the phrase, all lives matter. And again, it's just, who are these people? And the craziness that's sort of coming out of their mouths. But these things are written for them, and I guess they just get up and sort of say them. But it just doesn't fit. None of this fits reality. Which brings me back to Kellyanne and his, we have our own set of facts. And there you go.
Greg Lebel is Professor Emeritus of Political Management at George Washington University and the veteran of several presidential campaigns. I probably think not one like this. But Greg, thank you for being here. And the good news is that we're headed into the home stretch now.
Yeah,
look for
with the main event.
Look for more of our conversation coverage of this activist. Let me say that again. Look for more of our convention coverage with activists and analysts all week at stateofbelief.com. I'm Welton Gaddy. Thanks for watching.